a MacVoices briefing on the Wacom One 13-inch touch tablet with special guest Jeff Gamet. This is MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. Visit expressvpn.com/MacVoices, and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is a MacVoices briefing on the Wacom One 13-inch touch tablet. Folks, I am not equipped to review a tablet. I thought I was, and then I started playing with it and realized, I'm just a complete amateur. So I decided to call in an expert to get his take on it. That means I called the one and only Jeff Gamet. Jeff, it's great to have you.
And since you couldn't find an expert, you just called me.
No. You are an expert.
Chuck, it's always great to get to hang out with you, and thanks for inviting me.
Well, I appreciate you helping me out with this because the folks at Wacom sent me this for review, and I just did not feel adequate after I played with it a little bit to comment on it. And especially in relation to the fact that as we record this, yesterday Apple announced the new M4 iPad Pros and also a new Apple Pencil. So while this is going to be a review and a briefing on the Wacom device, it feels like we almost have to talk about it in relation to the iPad and which device is for which audiences and why you might want to consider one over the other.
I agree. It's even if we hadn't had the new iPad announcements, I think it still would have been appropriate to compare this, at least on some levels, to using an iPad as a graphic tablet.
So I've tried to integrate the Apple Pencil experience with the iPad into my workflow. And I tried to use the Wacom device to do some productivity things. And yes, I succeeded in that, but I know that I'm succeeding only in the grossest sense. You, on the other hand, you pick up an Apple Pencil or a pen or something, doodle on a napkin, and it becomes something. For me, that's
I don't know what.
Well, no,
I'm totally being self-deprecating.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it and I know what yours is. I look at mine and I'm not quite sure, even after an hour of trying. So, I guess at this point, let's start out with who this device is for and why. What features make it for that audience?
Well, how much time do we have, Chuck?
As much as you need, Jeff.
Oh, right. Well, I hope you brought lunch. No, actually, it doesn't have to be that complicated. The super condensed version. Are you doing something where having a tablet, a slate type interface with a stylus input works for the types of things you need to do? Okay, well now we're in a space where we can say, well, maybe it's a graphic tablet, like something from Wacom, in this case, the Wacom One, or maybe it's an iPad or some other sort of computer tablet. And then you need to narrow down what it is you actually want to do. And then that will help you figure out which is the right kind of device for you. So, for example, you want to be able to draw, paint, edit photos, different types of, we'll just call it creative endeavors. But you're going to be doing it on your Mac. Okay, well then we're still in the same boat. Maybe it's a dedicated graphics tablet. Maybe it's an iPad doing the whole sidecar thing. Do you need something on the go? And now it's going to start getting muddy, because do you want to use it away from your Mac? Do you want to use it sitting on the couch, or like out at the coffee shop where you don't even bring your computer? Okay, well, maybe now we're leaning more towards an iPad. because an iPad is a standalone slate-style computing device, or maybe it's a high-end graphics tablet like a Cintiq, which is, I think it's outside the scope of what we want to talk about today. But a Cintiq, where it's actually a slate computer in its own right, where it can have software loaded, or it can connect remotely to a dedicated server that's pushing the software to you, and allows you to work. Um, so another aspect is, do you want a device that you can use as an alternative input tool to instead of a trackpad or a mouse or a trackball? And that to me is another place where having a dedicated tablet actually becomes a really nice option. For a lot of people that have RSI injuries, using a traditional mouse or trackball or trackpad over time becomes a problem, or they need to be able to switch up. You can use your graphic tablet as an alternative to a traditional pointing device. And I have done that a lot myself. Like if I feel like I'm at my computer too long using just my trackball, then I can pick up the stylus from my tablet and use that as a pointing device. And I've changed the position of my hand and my wrist, and it's a nice way for me to break up that whole constant repetitive motion that can ultimately lead to injuries. Okay, so we've gotten through part of it, and I know I haven't cleared it up for you yet.
Well, Jeff, you have to some degree, because honestly, those at least two of those use cases I would not have thought of, because they don't apply to me. So I think, and I know that I'm not the only one out there who thinks of a tablet device with a stylus in hand as just a drawing device, and that's all. So you've opened my eyes already to a different way of thinking about it.
It's kind of cool and potentially dangerous when you really get down into the whole world of graphic tablet products, because there are so many things you can do that you weren't able to do at different points in the past. And honestly, with something like the Wacom One, after getting to add this into my workflow, it's nice having the extra display, which becomes another reason why you may want a tablet. Whether it's an iPad doing the whole sidecar thing, screen sharing, or a Wacom One or a Cintiq, where you have that display that can function as an extra display for your computer.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Again, the way I would pick it up and use it and think about using it would be like a legal pad beside my computer, because I would, even with my handwriting, I would see it as that kind of device, as opposed to what you're talking about. You're talking about just thinking about it much differently.
If you've used a tablet as part of your workflow for a long time, you find other ways where it can be productive for you. And I used to use a Cintiq all the time. It was one of the early models. Actually, it's sitting in a box in the other room right now. But I stopped using it because at that point, the technology wasn't as advanced as it is today. And while the tablet was fantastic, having this just crazy collection of multiple wires running off and out to different places, it made the tablet cumbersome for me. And ultimately, I switched back to using an Intuos, which is another Wacom product. And just to be clear, Cintiq is a Wacom product as well. The Intuos that I had didn't have a display, so it looked like a giant trackpad, essentially, that you used a stylus on. And that one even came with a mouse designed to just lay on the tablet, and so you had multiple input control options. Um, but yeah, it was a tool that became a regular part of my workflow. What made the difference for me in using a Wacom tablet over an iPad at my desk as a creative tool, it ultimately came down to the stylus and having more control at the time over what I was doing with the stylus on the Wacom tablet than I did on the iPad. And specifically, what I mean is, what's the sensitivity of the stylus? How many levels of pressure does it support when you're pushing on the surface with a stylus? And the higher that resolution, the higher that sensitivity means. Let me start that sentence over because I totally botched it. When you have a stylus that has a higher level of resolution or sensitivity overall, where you also have a higher number of pressure levels that it recognizes, you end up having a more accurate interpretation of your intent when you're moving the stylus around. So if you think about, like, if you're using a pencil, a literal pencil on literal paper, you have a range of pressure sensitivity that's limited only by your muscle control. When you translate that to a stylus on your iPad or on your tablet, it's incremental steps, because it can't be that perfect curve where there are no steps. However, just like with resolution in a graphic, resolution in an audio file, the higher that resolution, the smoother that line of sensitivity becomes. And I was able to have a higher level of sensitivity and more accuracy as a result of that with the styluses I was using on my Wacom tablet. Now, with a Wacom One versus an Apple Pencil, they're about the same. So that's not a big deal until you go to the Cintiq, where you have the higher resolutions.
Today's MacVoices is supported by ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. Visit expressvpn.com/MacVoices, and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. You want to be secure when you're online, right? But if it's tough or time-consuming to be secure, it's easy to overlook or skip over in favor of more pressing matters. That's another great thing about ExpressVPN. It's easy to set up and easy to engage with just one click. That means that with just that one click, your internet activities are being rerouted through ExpressVPN, encrypted along the way, and kept away from the prying eyes of your ISP, so that whatever you do online on your computer, your iPhone, or your iPad, even your smart TV, is your business and no one else's. That's why even when I'm at home, I never go online without using ExpressVPN. I want you to have that same safe, secure feeling for your internet activities. Use my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/MacVoices, right now and get 3 months free with a 1-year package. That's ExpressVPN, expressvpn.com/MacVoices, expressvpn.com/MacVoices, to learn more and sign up. Thanks to ExpressVPN for supporting MacVoices. Given what you just said, then, at the Cintiq level, that's the pro level. That's the individual.
Yes.
That's the individual who needs to make it as paper-like as possible. That said, for the rest of us, or I mean, I don't know where the line is, Jeff. And so I guess, and I think you've already sort of said it depends on what you want to do with it, and how deep you want to go down this path to get that paper-like experience.
Yeah, well, and it's not like this is a binary thing, where it's, if I'm doing this specific kind of task, that means an iPad is the right product, or a Wacom One is the right product, or if you've decided a dedicated tablet, graphics tablet, is the right path for you. Is the right device a Wacom One? Is the right device an Intuos? Is the right device a Cintiq? It depends on you. There's no reason why you would not be able to create high-end professional quality art on a Wacom One, even though it's a lower price point compared to some of the other products in the Wacom line. I mean, this is a fully capable professional device. I think it just has a more approachable price point for a wider audience.
Okay, so let's talk about the Wacom One experience. My experience was, at my level, was very good. It's got a good feel to it. The pencil felt good in my hand, but I don't spend a lot of time with a pencil in my hand. And my simple thing was just trying to either use it for handwritten notes, or maybe try desperately in my pathetic way to sketch out something that was relevant. And that just has never been part of me. So I found the handwriting. I was not doing any kind of handwriting recognition or attempting to do so. I was just letting it act like a legal pad.
That's a totally legit use for this, and the Notes app has handwriting recognition in it. So you can use the Notes app on your Mac and a Wacom tablet and stylus, and just sit there and handwrite your notes and have them convert to editable text for you.
I think if that's going to be successful for me, we're going to wait until about the M23 processor.
Until it catches up with your handwriting?
Yeah.
No, that's fair. My handwriting isn't the best, and yeah, I get it.
But that said, what I was able to capture was just fine, because I could still read it. It just wasn't text that you could manipulate. But for the purposes of note taking, it was fine.
Yeah, and this brings up another place where for some people the Wacom One would make a much more logical choice. What apps are you using?
Are you're asking me?
Oh, and it's a rhetorical question.
Just want to be sure.
A question, yeah, for everyone. What apps are you using? And that can help you determine which is the right tool for you. So, if I'm using Mac OS, or since this is not a platform specific device, if you're a Windows user and you're using the Creative Cloud apps on whatever platform, then maybe having something like the Wacom One makes sense, because you're using this as a design and editing tool on your desktop. So why not have a tool that's designed to work specifically with your desktop? Apple is blurring that line, but I mean, this is why tablets like this became a thing.
And I mean, this seems such an obvious thing in today's world, but I do feel obligated to mention it, since you earlier mentioned the tangle of wires. This is a Bluetooth device that connects to your computer wirelessly, so just like an iPad would. So there are no wires other than obviously to charge it as well.
And here's the difference between you and me, because you can plug it into your computer and use it wired. And that's exactly what I ended up doing.
Really? So that surprises me. I would have thought you would have been Mr. Portable, even with it sitting beside your computer.
You would think, and yet here we are. The reason that I have it wired is, one, so I don't have to think about charging it. It's just ready to go when I need it. And two, because historically I have had latency issues using a tablet over Bluetooth. So when I'm drawing something, I want the line to be right there with the tip of my stylus all the time. I don't want it catching up to me. I need to see what I'm drawing right now, not what I drew half a second ago. And half a second doesn't sound like much, but if you think about how fast your hand can move, it's a big deal. You can have a gap of a couple millimeters, depending on how fast you're drawing, or over an inch. And I'm not saying that the Wacom One has latency issues, because I didn't even go there. For me, it was just I'm plugging it in because I know it works for me, and I'm going to test this and start using it in the best way possible. Spoiler, this is sitting here connected to my computer all the time now.
And we come back to use cases. Because of what I was doing with it, I didn't even think about or notice lag. So,
yeah, and honestly, maybe I wouldn't notice lag at all. I didn't test it. And I think that makes me old school in that sense, because there was a time when using Bluetooth with your tablet, your graphics tablet, it wasn't going to be the optimal experience. So it didn't even occur to me to try it. It was just like, oh, I can plug it in through USB-C. Let's go. Plugged it in and didn't look back.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because I didn't even think about the fact that I would have better performance. But again, at my level of performance,
but maybe you don't have better performance.
Well, but it would not have occurred to me to even test it, because I just, okay, it's Bluetooth. That's great. This is the way it should be. I don't have to worry about a cable, and so, or I'd open USB port. So, go.
All right. Here's a place where using the Bluetooth connection could be really cool. Let's say you are working on a piece of art, and you're using like in my case, I use the Affinity app suite. So Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, those apps. And so let's say that I want to do some image editing or drawing on this tablet in, excuse me, in Affinity Photo. I can go sit on the couch and do it from there over Bluetooth, because the tablet is acting as an extension of your desktop. So just move the window for the app that you're working in onto the tablet, and then go sit where you want and do your thing.
And that sounds more like what I would have expected from you than sitting at your desk where you are now, working on a graphic of some kind.
It comes down to my intent when I'm creating something, and by that I mean, what do I mean? Because I know what I mean in my head. How do I express it to you? It's kind of an emotional thing, which sounds weird, but I mean, when you're creating, there's an emotional level to all of it. Whether it's just writing words or drawing circles or creating a cool picture, whatever, there's always an emotional level. Maybe it's mood. Part of it is if I'm sitting here working on something where it's a writing project, but I need to edit an image that's going to go along with it, I'm not leaving my desk. I'm at my desk writing. I'll just work on the graphic at my desk and call it good. If I'm noodling around with something, just trying to create a new thing for me, just some silly sketches, whatever, I'm probably not sitting at my desk.
Okay. Again, that makes perfect sense. I've based on a lot of our past conversations, I just have this vision of you picking up the Wacom and going to the coffee shop and sitting there and looking around and doodling or drawing or creating, based on the environment around you or whatever inspires you.
Now, that vision you have, it's totally accurate. But take the Wacom tablet out of my hand and put my iPad Pro in my hand instead. And that's because I don't have to be tethered to a device with the iPad. So with the Wacom tablet, I needed a connection to my computer.
Got it.
So I can't just grab my tablet and go. Now, if I was doing something where I wanted to use this tablet and I was going to have my Mac with me anyhow, okay, that image that you have, sure, that could totally be a thing. But realistically, if I'm going out somewhere away from my office and I want to draw, image edit, and use a stylus, I'm taking my iPad with me.
Jeff is back in the next edition of MacVoices to finish up our conversation that started out as a review of the Wacom One, but turned into a discussion of tablets and their use cases, as well as that review of the Wacom One. I'm Chuck Joyner. I'll see you next time on MacVoices. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.